on, everybody? How are you today? So, I am Kevin the Visionary, and I am here with Fallon Zymet. And Fallon has a very interesting story, which caught my attention, and I wanted to invite her on so that we could talk a little bit about her journey, her story, and her clear face. That's going to be that's going to be a big part of what we talk about today. And so, I like to let everybody introduce themselves and, tell the viewing audience a little bit about yourself. And then we'll go from there.
All right. Well, as you said, my name is Fallon. Got that from an 80s soap opera in the Dynasty. It's popular now. I don't know if you've heard of it. They're repopularizing this 80s
Really?
80s soap opera. Yeah, one of the characters' names was Fallon. My mom was a teenager. She loved it. Anyhow, now they're doing the show over again. So I'm sure there's going to be a whole bunch of Fallons just popping up here soon. So
I
maybe
didn't
it
know
won't
that.
be
I
so.
remember the Dynasty.
You do? Nobody remembers it. That's awesome. So anyhow, I have a family. As well, we didn't talk about this on camera yet, but there are two families outside. We live in an RV. This is my fifth wheel, as we call it. It's a toy hauler,
Nice.
so that means you can drive like motorcycles or ATVs. Some people even have small cars in the back. We have kids, so we have like a lot of little toys. We don't have big toys. Anyhow, my family's outside. I've got a husband. I've got two kids, a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old. And we travel full time in search of land that we want to settle down on and start our regenerative farm. And we're kind of on this journey of life, and in more ways than one, it's quite literal at this point. We travel to different farms across the country and learn as much as we can, help when we can. And just kind of tucking away all that knowledge for when we get to our piece of land. But honestly, the more states we've been to, the harder the decision gets, because there are a lot of beautiful places in the United States. There are some that are just too dry. Like from a regenerative farming standpoint, I want to have it at least somewhat of a Goldilocks area. I don't want to put myself in the Mojave Desert, let's say. There are some people doing it, but I don't want to do that.
So what states have you visited so far?
Oh man. So we've got this map that I have, where we show all the places we've been. And there's a lot of contention, there's a lot of it depends on who you listen to in the RV community. Some places you have to stay there and actually be there for so many days before you can say you've truly been to that state. You can't just drive through it and say
right.
We went to Texas. That doesn't do it justice. And so to states that we've actually been to are, I'd say Texas we did. It's hard to say. You hit so many cities and you spend so many weeks, but then you realize, especially Texas, I'm focusing on Texas as an example. There are a lot of areas of Texas that are vastly different from others. And so it's well, we need to go back to Texas. We didn't quite have enough time there. We're going to come back at some point and check that out some more. But I think it was way too hot, personally. In the summer,
so you came in the summertime.
We didn't plan to. That's a whole nother story. We've gone through two different fifth wheels because of long story. But anyhow, we were stranded in Death Valley for the whole winter and ended up having to go through Texas in the summer when we never wanted to be in Texas in the summer. And now I'm kind of glad we did, because now I know the spiders are this big. I'm all about the nope right there. Nope factor.
Wow.
And it's just 120 and muggy, at least where we were at in July. And that's miserable. I don't want to go outside.
Yeah, it definitely gets hot here in Texas for sure. The humidity.
So you're in Texas too?
Yes. The humidity is insane.
So I should probably say we're in Florida right now, enjoying winter in Florida.
Nice.
I've always wanted to kind of lounge on a beach, and I got to do that in the military for a while. But it was a lot more work, a lot less leisure. And now we get to do more leisure, especially with our kids. Well, that's really exciting. We homeschool too. So being able to do that on the road has been phenomenal to get them more cultured. You have that stereotypical homeschooled kid. He's super sheltered. He doesn't know how to talk to people. That is not the case with my kids. They meet people all the time, from littler than them to adults, and they can converse with them all because that's their norm now. You know, they're not they're not shy anymore.
Oh, that's good.
Yep.
Homeschool is the best. I think it's a wonderful idea. So you touched a little bit on the military. So I know you were in the Navy.
Hmm.
Tell us a little bit about your Navy, your journey in the Navy, from the standpoint of your health.
Yeah. So I joined the Navy. I thought I was pretty healthy. I'd never run a mile before in my life, though, and I wouldn't understand why you would, like, without stopping for breaks. And so,
Right.
um, joined the Navy, thought I was pretty healthy. They taught me a lot about how healthy I was. They taught me about hydration. I never knew women were supposed to, or people in general were supposed to drink so much water that your urine was clear, or not clear, but lighter in
Mhm.
color. I literally no one had ever taught me that until I joined the military, which is crazy. So I have them to thank for that hydration. But otherwise, the food was terrible in the military. I mean, that was like your standard cafeteria type, hot food in the hot food area. But then you had like your fast line, which was just chips and sandwiches, to go items, and like cereal, the highest sugar cereal too. It's not like healthy cereals. Not that
Right.
I really think any of them are healthy these days, but so I gained weight in boot camp, and that was not helpful. And I exercised my butt off as an air crewman, training to be an air crewman. We were PTing, exercising like 7+ hours a day, like beach runs, drop and do 50 push-ups, do another, mile on the beach, drop and do, they'd roll us around in the ocean to get us all wet, and then you'd roll you in the sand to get you all sandy, and they think it's hilarious, and it's not, because then you get chafing as you're running. It's just not pleasant, but that was the point. It was not to be
Mhm.
pleasant, and to see who could be weeded out right then and there as the pansy who couldn't hack it. Anyhow, so I learned right there, being PT'd 7 hours a day for days and days and months on end. When I ate like a clean meal, in my mind, what a clean meal was: a chicken breast and, not too many sauces because you don't want too many sugars. And then, your brown rice, pilaf, or whatever you have on the side. And then, of course, vegetables. You need a lot of vegetables. And so I would have that versus, standard American diet, what I grew up on: pizza or spaghetti, or, like carbs and carbs, not really a lot of protein. And I would feel like garbage the next day on these beach runs, just gassed, like I didn't have the energy. And so I was able to put two and two together pretty quickly in my life, thanks to the military forcing me along. Um, Food is fuel.
Mhm.
It's truly fuel. Like, that concept was so new to me, but I was introduced to it by force. And so that eventually led to me thinking vegan was going to be the answer. You see a couple vegan documentaries and you're like, aha, yes, like this
That's
is the
the
revolution.
answer. Right.
And we've been taught since we could speak that, eat the rainbow. The more colors you eat, the better, the more fiber, the better. And so, yeah, it just seemed to me like, duh. And that's, I think, what happens to a lot of people. Like, we all know, like, to eat all of our vegetables, but we don't really take it into and then they come along with their empathetic eyes and these animals that are dying at your expense, and look at all the mistreatment at these horrible slaughterhouses, which isn't the norm at any slaughterhouse, I would say, after working in the industry. We'll get to that.
Okay. Okay.
But oh, man. So anyway, I bought it hook, line, and sinker, and I tried it in the military while I was bodybuilding. I was trying to hit my macros for protein every day as a vegan, which, if anyone's ever done that, like, you know how hard that is, especially when you're trying to protein combine. You want to get all your essential amino acids. You don't want to, like, be one of those vegans.
Right.
Anyhow, I did rely on a lot of like tofu, seitan. I always say that wrong. Seitan. So the vegans know what I'm talking about. They'll correct the crap out of me.
Yeah, I can't remember. I know exactly what you're talking about. The Satan,
However, it's
something like
pronounced
that. Satan,
is
something like that. But I
tastes
know
like
what you're talking about. I don't
Satan's
like.
butthole.
So I tried it once. I got a pizza and something else when I was vegan made out of it.
Hmm.
It wasn't that. I did not enjoy it at all.
I swear, it's like after not eating meat for long enough, you start thinking everything kind of tastes pretty good, like what you recall, but your memory is just faded as
Yep.
like anyhow. So I relied a lot on those like for convenience sometimes because I was active duty military. I had a
Hmm.
social nightlife, I had a motorcycle, I'm like doing stuff. And so if I was at like a restaurant that happened to have living in Hawaii, like a new aged, like vegan, like fake meat or something on the menu, for sure I was gonna get that. It was that or French fries, or a
Right.
salad with crappy oils drizzled all over it. Either way, you're screwed. You're getting seed oils left and right or sugar. Like it's not good on the vegan landscape when you're eating out. And so anyway, I did that for about 6 months, and within a few months my skin started going crazy, and I didn't attribute it to that because there were a lot of life changes going on which others could argue were the cause of my acne. So I
Wait,
actually
so wait. So you're saying before you decided to go vegan, your skin was fairly okay.
beautiful. I mean, if you look at all the photos of me, I always was plastered in makeup. I was one of those women who was like trained from birth that women wore, foundation and concealer and bronzer and like a setting powder. Like, I don't know if you're aware, but like crazy amounts of stuff on
Wow.
your face. Like, and it's almost like paint like on your nails. You feel like you can't breathe, like your skin can't breathe. And I always felt like never touch my face. I had a complex. No one ever touched my face because I had been told by every commercial ever only dirty skin gets acne. So I was always
Mm,
so anal about like no bacteria on my face. Like I did all the
right.
things. And I had a few pimples as a teen. I had a few pimples even in my 20s, like here and there around my cycle. These are normal things, that you assume
Mhm.
occur. You hear it in a commercial all the time. Like, here's the latest, greatest product for your face. I bought all that crap. And was managing, a pretty decent face, like I said. But then within a few months of going vegan and bodybuilding in the military, and like I'll say, I got breast implants put in. No, when my face first went, it's around that time. So it's like it's confusing, like when you're
Mhm.
trying to pinpoint health issues and you're trying to put everything to a date. When it's happening, you're not thinking this could be really important information 10
Right. Let
years
me remember that.
Oh gosh. And then I was trying to figure it out after a while. Obviously, I was erupting, as you saw in the video, like huge volcanic, awful, like bleeding pustules. I mean, nastiness. I was so embarrassed. And I don't mean to offend you if you have these right now, because I've been there and you know how it is. It's rough. It hurts
Yeah.
to smile. It hurts even just sitting there because your face is like throbbing with inflammation and
So
ugh. Anyhow.
I saw in your video that if I remember correctly, while you were in the Navy, they tried to do some type of surgery on your face to remove it.
Yes, and so they tried everything. They were like, well, initially I was like, "Hey, what's going on with my face?" Like I made an appointment with the doctor, and they sent me off to dermatology, and they were like, "Well, this happens sometimes. We have some Accutane that you can take, which, if you're familiar, is a horrible drug with a lot of side effects." And so I didn't want to do that. I would just kind of was like, "I'm not. That's not something I want to consider." And so they were like, "Well, we can do antibiotics for quite a while, or we can do birth control." And I'm like, no, I got off birth control a couple years ago. I don't want to get back. I had been on birth control since I was 14 to
Wow.
manage my cycles and manage my hormones, and so I was done with that at that point. I didn't want to do that anymore. And so their next best route was antibiotics for months. And I knew, like we all kind of know like antibiotics aren't really good. But then once you start going down these health rabbit holes, you realize how bad that is. And to be taking them for months was horrible. And it didn't do anything. That's the worst part. Like it kind of cleared some of it up, but it didn't really clear. Like it just kept coming. I was trying everything from like oil cleansing. I don't know if you've seen like people wash their face with oil. It's like it's a whole thing.
Mhm.
And because my husband never, at the time boyfriend, never washed his face, except for he's in the shower, just happened to casually get some soap on it on accident. Like he literally doesn't wash his face and he's got gorgeous skin. And so I'm over here like, I'm so frustrated. The doctors just want to prescribe me stuff. I don't know what to do. So I took the doxycycline, the antibiotic, for months on end. It kind of got better. but not really. But they kept telling me, you need to get it better so we can do this surgery. I think they just wanted to experiment. I feel like a lot of times the military just needs like more guinea pigs.
Yeah.
So I got stories upon stories there. Um, and so they did the face lasering, I think a total of 3 times before my wedding, which if you look at if you zoom in on my wedding photos, there is acne all over, all over. It's so frustrating and sad that I had, even on my wedding day, years later, I was still dealing with that, even though I was eating at that time for my wedding, like a bodybuilding diet, chicken breast, brown rice, broccoli, repeat, weighed it all out. I was meal prepping like a professional at that point for
Wow.
bodybuilding. And my face was going crazy. I was gluten-free. I was like no sugar, I was dairy-free. I was doing all these things that you're supposed to do to clear up your skin, and it wasn't working. The military took, I think they were called CO2 lasers. Specifically, it was like an ablative style procedure where, as you saw in those photos, it literally rips like the top layers of your skin off, like burns them or ablates them, however, whatever the term is. Very painful. They put me under general anesthesia for this. I mean, it was
Wow.
quite the procedure. And yeah, I would wake up and have to deal with all that pain and like oozing. Like this was a giant, like think of like when you get like road rash or, you scrape like.
That's what it looked like to me when I saw it in the video. I was like, that looks kind of
Exactly.
like road rash or
I
something.
have crashed my bike. I have definitely had road rash, and that's what it felt like, but all on my face. And it didn't really solve it. As you saw, I don't know if you recall, there was a photo of me postpartum with my son. I mean, years later, and it's still, there's like noticeable pitting and like deep, like pigmented scars. And I mean, if you can see now, I mean, I'm not saying my skin's beautiful, but you can see a little
You
bit.
can't see it.
Being the self-conscious woman, I know where it is,
you,
but
you know where it is.
compared to before, I don't, and by the way, for full disclosure, I have a little bit of concealer under my eyes, because the usual mom under eye circles probably should get at least an hour more sleep. But I don't have skin makeup on. I don't have anything hiding my face anymore, and my skin just gets sunlight and it looks wonderful. I didn't need 27,000 products on my face. I just needed some sunlight and fresh air for a while. Like,
So how long were you vegan? How long did you go plant-based
so
vegan?
like many vegans, there was some like on and off there. And so when I was single and in the military and trying to do the bodybuilding thing, I was vegan for probably about a year and some change before my boyfriend slash now husband convinced me just to eat some damn chicken. Like, he's like, you can't keep trying to build muscle, honey, on this vegan thing. I know you want to prove everybody wrong, because I love like to prove a thing. But I was making, it was cute. It was cute what I was doing, but it wasn't like what I am nowadays. And so he convinced me to eat the chicken, but it's still, everything I've ever heard says red meat is bad, cholesterol, watch out, eggs, not too many, egg whites. And so that's what I would do, focus on that protein, no fat. And so my hormones, no wonder why my skin never cleared. I was
Right.
constantly riding this stupid bodybuilding train, trying to get lean. And really, I was on a hamster wheel of death, like fighting my body, fighting biology, fighting everything. And so it's ironic to be talking to you and to be in this space now, knowing that I can stuff my face with hot dogs, like grass-fed hot dogs, or not even. I'm guilty of eating things that are not grass-fed sometimes. And a whole pack, like not just a couple hot dogs, but like I have to work and I got to get out the door. So I'm just going to bring this pack of hot dogs with me to work, and I'm going to eat them at the butcher shop. While, like I can scarf a whole hot dog while I'm over here grinding sausage or something. So silly. And I lose weight. I eat a whole pack of hot dogs for breakfast, and then I go home and I have like a ribeye and some burger patties for dinner, and I'm losing weight. Like, this is the opposite of everything. The opposite of everything. My entire life of battling. I grew up fat. I don't know if we mentioned this before.
No.
I grew up, and I don't mean disrespect for people who don't like the word fat, but I grew up overweight, very uncomfortable in my own skin, like so self-conscious. If I ever heard a comment in the classroom, I knew it was about me. Not because I was that paranoid, because I was that fat girl in the front row with my nose in a book all the time. Like, I just wasn't cool. So growing up, not being able to do cartwheels like the other girls, not being able to just feel comfortable in my own space, like that sucks. I feel like there's a lot of childhood I could have had I not been fat all the time. And so in 6th grade, my whole health journey began because I decided I was tired of feeling self-conscious about people making fun of me for being fat. I'm already weird. Like, can I not be fat too? And so can I get that under control? I can do that. And so I got In Shape magazine, I think it's called Shape magazine or something like that. Women's, fitness thing. And I'm poring over it in 6th grade, reading that I should be low fat, low fat, low fat, avoid the red meat, And so I'd be eating Cheerios with skim milk and like 3 blueberries or whatever, for breakfast, because that's what this little meal thing told me I could eat, and some celery sticks with, like this much peanut butter, I was constantly doing this stupid stuff as a kid who should have been just out playing, all to try to manage my weight. And I lost the weight, sure, for 7th grade. I lost like 30 pounds, dyed my hair, and no one recognized me for like a day or two. And then they're like, oh, it's just that weird girl again. And so it was wonderful that I was able to manage my weight, but it was horrible that I started this vicious cycle of like yo-yo dieting that I think a lot of women go through. And like I said, it's a vicious hamster wheel of death. And I'm here to put an end to it. Like, stop doing it. Like, you can yummy things and not have to do that to yourself. Yeah. So anyway, I'll get off my soapbox there.
Oh, that's all right. So, okay. So about a year, or how long roughly? Did you do
Total
that?
of being vegan. Sorry. So then fast forward to, we're married, we have a kid, and I'm watching a damn vegan documentary on YouTube again. And I'm like, we need to do this. We need to go vegan. My husband has led me astray. I need to go back to the plants because that's going to make everything better. Postpartum, there was a lot going on. I had really bad postpartum depression, and I was looking for anything to get me out. And so that is what my plan became. And so I went like plant-based hard. I wanted to do it, but like mom style now. And so I grew our own vegetables while we were living on base in California. I was like making everything from scratch, learning how to cook. I didn't know how to cook. My mom didn't know how to cook. Like, I thought my grandmas knew how to cook. It turns out they usually used like from a box cooking. So it wasn't like real cooking.
Right.
And so I had to figure out how to do like all this stuff from scratch, and I loved it. And I started a blog. Like, I was so passionate about it. But I got caught up in the vegan stuff. I just started more and more and more plant-based. Like, I would chop up spinach and put it into like confetti, mix it with avocado, mash it up to like feed my son like salads, like baby salads. And other people then were like, I want to learn how to do that. Like, I want my kid to eat spinach, because we all know spinach is the best,
Spinach is the best.
So I'm like teaching all these other moms, and I feel terrible about it now. Like, how to force feed, practically how to trick your kids into eating all these greens and vegetables that they don't inherently freaking like. And my son didn't thrive for it. I thought, like, it feels good, it looks good, everything, like, why would it be bad? I was protein combining. I was eating so many different colors. If he wasn't eating it, I was blending it into a smoothie and making him drink it, not making him because he liked it. You put 50 bananas in something, you're going to like it. We did like the fruitarian. We did all the plant-based stuff. We've tried it all. And all it did for my son. So from 6 months old until he was 4, his 4th birthday, we went carnivore. So for 4 years almost of his entire little life, he was raised plant-based and like a little role model for plant-based kids. And he was always thin. He was always skinny. He almost had like the skin where you could see through it, like you could see the veins. He just wasn't thriving. Like, I felt like he was starting to having like behavioral issues with like focusing, but I noticed it wasn't like all the time. It just something felt off and I didn't like it.
Okay.
And I couldn't put weight on him no matter how much coconut, meat or, canned coconut cream, which I didn't feel good about all those canned items anyway.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted to be vegan and local. And here I was, like, trying to do that. I was growing all my stuff. I had 5 acres. But I realized, like, I can't grow brown rice. I mean, I guess I could, like, like, I can't grow my cashews. I can't grow my avocados. I can't grow my coconuts. Like, how can I be vegan and local? Like, because that's impossible. I figured living in Minnesota. I got to that conclusion and I was very frustrated and I didn't know what to do. Like, do we move to Hawaii? Like, what do we do now? Because there are vegan bloggers and YouTubers that do that. They're living in the tropics and they're eating
Right. All
and
the
it
local
makes
stuff.
more sense, there, but it sure don't make sense in Minnesota in January when you've run out of all of your cellar full of stuff. And now what? I need potatoes.
Mhm. That's one of the things that, you hear a lot of people in the health and carnivore space and just people who understand true nutrition. And they talk about how
And
in
truly
the
return.
past, no one ate avocados from Guatemala. No one ate
Unless you lived in
bananas.
Guatemala, but that was like this many
Exactly.
people.
So you ate what you can grow locally,
Mm-hmm.
and you farmed, and you had your animals, your chicken, your, goats, whatever you had, your pigs, and that's what you ate,
Mm-hmm.
and they
I
were
felt like
healthy.
such a fraud being a vegan and like shopping at Costco all the time to get the bulk amounts of produce I needed in the winter. Like, I just didn't like it. And so what was I gonna say? Oh, I forgot. I lost my train of thought there. But
Well, you were talking
oh,
about
the
wanting to.
seasonality. You were just
Yes.
saying the seasonality. And so
Mhm.
some people I feel like might judge me because I feed my children carnivore now, but they have some fruit every now and then. Like, we're not full like Paul Saladino style, like animal based with all the fruit all the time. Because to me, like, yeah, we're in Florida right now. We probably could find some fruit pretty easy growing out here, but we're not always in Florida. And so I think it's a little silly to have that mentality that people do in society where fruit is available all the time. All the time. It's not. If you lived any time in history, it would only be available when that particular season was for that berry or that tree.
Or you wouldn't have any at all.
Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of civilizations that have gone without, the Inuit, for example. I mean, they're a classic example. And I hate to like beat that dead horse like every other carnivore, but that's a really good study. That's a good study of how humans can thrive without an abundance of plants nearby. Like,
Mhm.
that's something that never sat right with me as a vegan. Not only was my son just not looking thriving, I was never my ideal weight. I was constantly battling my weight, even as a vegan. And, a lot of people get really skinny as a vegan, like my son. I was just, all those carbs weren't serving me at all. I was constantly chasing my mood like this. And, again, dang it, I forgot where my train of thought was going with that. But that's one of the things I noticed right away when we switched to carnivore was the mood. I wasn't chasing like food all day for my mood. I wasn't getting
Oh yeah.
hangry. I wasn't having to carry snacks with me like it was my job as a mom. We just ate a big, heavy, fatty, meaty meal and then went about our business for hours and hours. And we were all fine. Like, the kids were fine. I was fine. And then we could come home and feast again when we had, like, it wasn't like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? We're so hungry because we forgot
Right.
to pack 20 snacks. Like, it wasn't like that anymore. And let me tell you, as a mom, that's a freedom. That's a big freedom.
Yeah. I mean, I remember same thing happened to me as a vegan. I would go into work at 6 o'clock and I would eat then. And by like 7:30, I'm like, I am starving. Like, when is, I need a break right now. Like, I remember being so hungry all the time.
Yes. And you think
But
it's normal. Like, I thought it was normal because coming from the bodybuilding world too, everybody eats like 6 times a day.
right.
That's 100% the norm. And so, anyhow, I thought it was normal. I thought that's just the way things were. And then you hear things in the mom space all the time where, you know, you got to have your snacks, you got to keep the kids happy. And so it's such a normalized thing in our society that I want to, again, throw that out the window. You don't have to live like that, a slave to food all the time. It's very freeing. I was in the kitchen for hours a day as a vegan, prepping and chopping and preparing and soaking my nuts and sprouting my things. And it was so exhausting after a while. Like, I like cooking, I like puttering in the kitchen, but when it becomes a job, like you're a slave to almost, it is no longer a fun thing. And so when we went carnivore, I was like ready to give up all of that time. And I was so ready. Like, yep, fry me up some patties, honey. We're good. Like, we don't have to do anything else. Oh, so that alone, I think moms should just think about that for a minute. Like,
no, I agree. Because I remember, you know, making different meals and stuff, and you got to get the salad prepared. You got to get the soup or the, you know, the sauteed this prepared. You got to get the rice. You got to get this just to make a meal. And then an
you're
hour
hungry.
later, you're hungry. I'm like, I just ate a big old salad and all this stuff, and I'm hungry again. It's like, man, yeah, that was the worst. So we understand now that even though we were eating, we weren't getting any nutrients.
No, and especially, yeah, like, not even as a vegan, as like the typical, you know, healthy American diet. Like I said, Cheerios and skim milk, or, you know, some fat-free tuna and some white rice. Like, you're gonna burn through that in no time. And no wonder why you're constantly, and then they make you feel, this is where I get pissed. A lot of it gets internalized on the person, especially women. I feel like they'll take this on like it's my fault. Like, I am the problem. I'm just super fat, and I need to just eat how much normal people eat. And I need to be fine with that. Like, and you internalize it like it's my fault, it's my problem. I have no willpower. I have no whatever. And really, it's your body screaming at you for nutrition, to actually eat things that give you fuel. I don't know why. Like I said, as a vegan, I guess I got lost. And then in the brainwashing of our society, like, this is healthy. This is what's healthy. And that whole thing was just flipped upside down for me when I learned about carnivore. And so I don't know if you're interested at all to hear like how I even got into the carnivore space as a vegan.
Yeah. So
I love your story. You're like, nobody can top your story.
I don't know, man. It wasn't great when it happened.
I bet.
The worst time in my life, one of the worst times in my life. So you're having all these acne problems and whatever else is going on. Mm-hmm. And how did you decide, and how did you hear about carnivore? Like, what's the story there?
So I was happily veganing away after I had a whole vegan pregnancy with my daughter, and we all survived, thank goodness. And barely, though. I had like the vomiting, the heavy vomiting the entire time, nausea and vomiting the whole 9 months. And looking back on it, I've heard that can be from I think it was one of the B vitamins deficiency. And that's one of the suspected culprits. No one knows for sure why this occurs. I'm wondering now, like, geez Louise, did I just need to eat some liver? Would I have been fine had I swallowed some liver tablets or liver capsules? And I could have gotten rid of, I mean, I lost 30 pounds in the first trimester of that pregnancy because I couldn't hold anything down. I wanted to die. I didn't want to be pregnant anymore, honestly. It was the worst thing. I can't even describe to you. I mean, stupid things would make me throw up. Like, not just like obviously smelling like cat poop. Sure, that would make you want to throw up, maybe if you're already sensitive. But getting my hands wet and washing them when the water was cold would cause like a nausea and vomiting storm for no real reason that I could discern other than my hands were wet. You know, like stupid stuff. And so I barely survived that whole pregnancy. I lost a ton of weight. The weight I was when I conceived was the weight I was when I had Betty, my daughter. Like I was just able to gain the 30 pounds back through the last 2 trimesters after losing so much weight in the first.
Wow. Okay.
Wild. And so I have her, and my postpartum depression is awful again, like on steroids this time practically, because I'm also failing at breastfeeding. That's a whole nother story. And so like I'm feeling like I'm a failure as a mother. My mental health was horrible. Think about it, a vegan pregnancy. You're taking all of that nutrients, and putting it into the fetus, and I was left with nothing. And I was trying to run on nothing. And I was already encountering problems with breastfeeding, so I'm not sleeping. It was a horrible time. And my husband was working full time as a diesel mechanic, and so he always had his earbuds in, or the ear things. And he's listening to podcasts, and he's listening to Joe Rogan, and he hears the Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson podcast. And he was like, Fallon's got to hear this, because he had never been a fan of the vegan diet, obviously. And he ate vegan at home, but if he was out with the buddies at work, he would have a burger for sure. And so that's probably the only reason he was able to stay somewhat sane, Mm-hmm. Anyhow, he mentioned it to me, and at first I like, ludicrous, a meat diet, like you're gonna get butt cancer within a week. That's crazy. These people are nuts. Like everything I've ever been told says no. But I'm intrigued. Like his story, if you've heard that podcast, is very intriguing. And so I start looking into this, like I gotta research this. And so I start coming across like Paul Saladino and Sean Baker and Ken Berry. And I'm like, well, this is crazy. This is back in the very beginning of 2020. 2020 hadn't quite happened yet. It was the beginning of 2020. And January, World Carnivore Month was going on. So that must have been like what triggered it all. And so I read Saladino's book. I read Sean Baker's book. I'm an avid reader. So that was just like, go right to these books on audio so I could like vacuum and try to nurse the baby and get this information in, because I was obsessed. I wanted to know, how did these people have such a transformative story? Like, what's the magic? What's the secret? What's the science behind it? I'm a nerd. I want to know. And so I poured over all these books, listened to so many podcasts, obsessive about it. And I'm like, I got to try it. Like, I am so intrigued. I've got to try it, even though I think I'm probably going to die of butt cancer. But everything I've just learned tells me I might not now.
Right.
And so I jump right in head first. I'm like, let's do this. Like overnight, we'll switch, and we're going to just try it. And I'll try it for a week, and we'll see what happens. And if I don't die after a week, we'll try it for a month. And after a month, I'm not giving any more. Like I'll give a month. And so he was ecstatic. He's like, yes,
I'm sure he was. Let's go.
And so day 5 rolls around. I'm already bored, and like the texture is hard because I'm a vegan for years and years. Like 2016, was when we solidly, as a parent, I changed the whole family to veganism. And now it's 2020, and I'm like trying to figure out how to cook and prepare steak and eat it in a way that doesn't suck without all the sauces, because Saladino said the sauces are going to ruin my gut health. And so, I'm choking it down. And on day 5, something happened where I noticed, like I said, my mood was stable. My energy was like way higher and stable. Like it wasn't like you get some caffeine and then you crash, or there was none of that. It was just like whoop. I can't even I loved the way I felt, like so steady. I didn't get like the hangry shakes anymore.
Wow.
It was so wild. And then I had a rule where if you're not hungry for the burger patties, then you're not hungry. And I quickly realized I would be perusing the kitchen, opening the cupboards, like opening the refrigerator. And then I would check myself, like, are you hungry for some burger patties? And no, not really. Well, what are you doing in the kitchen?
You were used to doing that as a vegan.
Well, and as an emotional eater too, like I'd be bored, I'd be stressed, I'd be like trying to classically avoid and procrastinate on other things in my life. Like, let's make some muffins. it'd be so silly. I realized how much of an emotional tie, or, not food related, not fuel related tie I had to the kitchen and cooking stuff. And so
Mhm.
it was nice to have that food freedom and to realize what I was doing before. I wasn't even aware of what I was doing. I was just mindlessly going to the kitchen and doing stuff and eating stuff, and without even thinking about it. And now I was being forced to think about it. And so that was really good as just a weight loss tool and as a life tool. But by day 5 of that, the stairs was a big thing for me too. We had a 2-story farmhouse, and it was always just kind of agony going up the stairs. Like, I'm in my 30s now. I've got kids. My knees hurt. I've had lots of knee injuries over the years, and I just assumed this was part of life. Like, it's a part of getting old. You hear this stuff from everybody all the time. And so again, I'm like, well, I guess this is just getting old. I don't know. But day 5 of eating meat for me, I was excited to take the stairs. Like, I took the stairs 2 at a time, like a game, like when I was a kid. I haven't done that. Like I said, I couldn't even remember the last time I was excited like that to take the stairs. Just couldn't even tell you. And now here I am, like, hey kids, like, let's make a game on the stairs.
Right.
This is fun. I have energy and I feel good. Like, my joints don't hurt right now for once. And it was just like an epiphany. Like, what is this meat diet? It's real. Like, it wasn't just magic. It wasn't made up. Like, all those books, they are freaking onto something. And so I'm like, yeah, we'll do it for the 30 days. And here it's been almost 3 years now. February will be 3 years that we just did a 180.
Wow.
So
So day 5, you notice you have, a lot more energy. How long did it take you to realize that your face was starting to transform?
I'd say within the first few months, like, I didn't lose any weight. My husband started dropping weight right away, and I was like, ooh, like, that's
Yeah.
exciting. Like, I want to do that. But I didn't. And I didn't like stress too much about it because I felt really good. And so it was worth it. Like, I got my mental game back. I've got physical game now. Like, if I lose weight, I lose weight. If I don't, like, whatever. I've kind of just accepted that I was going to be at that weight forever. Just kind of above where I wanted to be, basically, but not like obese either. It was just this
Right.
unhappy place. And finally, after 3 months, 2 things happened. One, I noticed my skin started looking like plump. Like, I had noticed as a vegan, I was starting to get like super heavy dark circles. And then also all these fine lines. I like to smile. I don't want to stop smiling. I don't want Botox or anything. But, I was like, oh, shoot, 30s again, creeping up on me. But after 3 months, like, yeah, I've got crinkles, but they don't really stay anymore. Like, once I'm done smiling, they go back.
Right.
Before it was like almost like, what's that, the tissue paper, that you get in gifts? It kind of reminded me of that. Like, it was just like, it didn't have that vigor, that bounce backness that I think you can
Right.
only really get from collagen and like meat based sources. So that was huge. And I remember being in the mirror like, am I like seeing this right? And so I wanted to take photos. You see some people doing the photos, but I hadn't done them. And I do have, I'm going to block this out. I got to put this online. I've got my wallet. I've got photos of me just getting out of the military as a vegan, like fresh as a mom. Like, I looked rough. My face was really rounded and dumpy. And then I've got a photo ID of me for my driver's license, like 1 year into being carnivore. And you see like changes. Like, my face is starting to look firmer and like more like jaw defined. And then the photo I just took this summer, like, you see me, I've got like a jaw.
Right.
Before it was just like round and just I can't wait to post the photos. I'll have to send them to you.
Wow.
But my face has been changing. Like, is it from chewing all the steak? Is my jaw muscle, are my jaw muscles?
You're exercising your jaw muscles. Yeah, there you go.
Or, is it the nutrition? Like, is my jaw literally widening? I'm an adult. Like, it should be, that's all been done. My kids have some hope that their wisdom
Right.
teeth will have enough room, but I'm done growing. So I don't know what it is, but I'll take it all day. this has been the cheapest like beauty treatment I've ever had. So
Wow.
I steak all day, all day.
So you saw the transformation. Now, did you have any other type of health issues besides the face and your knees and
Yeah, well, like chronic pain. Like I don't even know, like, is fibromyalgia just a dead end like diagnosis? I don't know, but I would get like shooting nerve pains. I would get, like the joint pain a lot. The doctors didn't really have much to say about it, other than like, I'm sorry, here's some drugs, and it's just not my game plan ever in life. So I've
right,
always been trying to figure my own stuff out. And so, and I had never really realized how bad my gut was. Like, I think I had chronic IBS, and I mean, I kind of knew that, but I thought it was related to just anxiety. Because for me,
okay,
the gut and the brain are so, I mean, everybody, it's so related, but it was very noticeable for me because I would get anxiety really bad, like postpartum and everything else. It's been really bad since having kids. I wouldn't say I had anxiety really bad before kids, but something about having kids and maybe the constant distraction. I
right,
don't know. But it's bad. And I'll get like this tight, gut wrenching feeling like I need to go to the bathroom right now. Like I need to go. And I didn't need to go until the anxiety hit. And so like
okay,
I'm worried, like, is there malabsorption issues because my body is like just dumping it through me rather than actually processing it, because my gut brain connection apparently is just so ridiculous. I don't know. And so I definitely had IBS, and it definitely was better eating like gluten-free, I noticed. So like, was I celiac? I don't think so. I don't know. I never got a test done
right,
because again, I'd kind of given up on the doctors. Like, you guys got nothing good for me. I don't even want to bother with all the appointments and bother doing all this stuff for you to just tell me to take a drug that I'm just not going to take.
right,
So
okay.
anyhow,
So
but yeah, so I had the IBS, the anxiety, the depression at times. Like like I said, the lowest point of my life was after I had my daughter. And I have to think, like, I was nutritionally devoid. Like there was nothing left. And so my mood just got better and better and better the longer we ate. I mean, my marriage wouldn't be here anymore if it wasn't for the carnivore diet. Let me be clear. My husband and I both suffer from anxiety and depression and PTSD. Like, we're both veterans. And so trying to raise children in that dynamic is hard. And I want to be the best parent. My husband wants to be we all want to be the best parent. But
mhm,
when you're also fighting all of your own inner demons, it makes things so much harder. And so if eating carnivore, my stress level can be down here with the same amount of stressors versus when I'm eating crappy food, my stress level is already here. So I'm just over the brink. As soon as something
right,
happens, like I can't handle it anymore in the ways that I want to handle it. And that, to me, is what keeps us on the diet as well. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not Paul Saladino. Not that he lies. But I'm
right,
saying
right, right.
we cheat. We don't eat clean for 3 years
All the
straight.
time,
Like,
right,
if it's Christmas time, my kid knows we're gonna have some gluten-free cookies around here. Like, no, I'm probably not gonna let you just bake with all the gluten flour because I just can't. But we got some gluten-free stuff, and it doesn't bother us as much. I know what bothers us now, and so I try to, if we're gonna cheat on things, like almond flour messes me up bad, makes me feel
oh
like
wow,
I have the flu. It's crazy. And so I'll do like cassava flour and some coconut flour or something like that and mix that together and make some sort of something to make a cookie. But, or for New Year's, we have what we call noodle New Year's. The kids, my kid was raised vegan. Like I said, pasta and rice was his bread and butter, like that's what he ate. And so to try to, sorry, I just lost my train of thought.
you were
What was I
talking
saying?
about how your kids, your kid grew up vegan, so you try, you're not a strict carnivore all the
Oh,
time.
yeah, sorry. So noodle New Year. So sorry. There's like
See,
the
I know
party
what
out
it is. You're trying to concentrate, but you're also hearing them having
I'm
fun.
hearing them. And so I'm like, oh, did you hear that? I hope you didn't hear that. Anyhow, so the Noodle New Year will have noodles because he loves noodles. He misses noodles, you know, and there's some weird carnivore things I've tried to make with noodles, but it's just not fitting the bill for him. And so he gets to look forward to every New Year's. We make every type of noodle dish he's ever wanted to have all year, you know, like the Italian, the Chinese, we do it all. And that's kind of where we've settled at. And then we all feel like crap. I mean, I don't have to force the 6-year-old, almost 7-year-old to eat this way because he knows he doesn't feel very good. He doesn't like the way, that's the beauty of it, I guess. We cheat sometimes, but it reminds us why we do what we do because we feel
Right.
so brain foggy. We feel so tired. We feel so lethargic, unmotivated. It's not worth it. As Paul Saladino says, there's like that quality of life factor that you need to like figure out what is yours. And if it's having a birthday cake on your birthday, then eat the birthday cake on your birthday. But if it's not, if you want to be in peak physical performance at all times, like Paul Saladino does, then you don't eat the birthday cake on your birthday. You make some like meat cake and you do that, like it's very
Right.
personal. And I hate the judginess in the carnivore space and the vegan space, like it's got to be this or that. So there's nothing in between. That's
Yep.
not me. That's just not
Right.
me.
Yeah,
I'm
I
tired.
say so. I don't call myself a carnivore. I say meat based because I eat
The hate is kind of
predominantly.
hate.
Hey, I eat predominantly meat, but
Hmm.
sometimes I have pancakes. Sometimes I have some fruit. Like rarely, but I do. Sometimes I will have some cake. It just depends. I eat
Yeah.
ice cream sometimes.
And so we
But
make animal-based ice cream. Have you seen Dr. Kiltz's ice cream? Ours
I
is really
have.
similar.
I've tried to make something similar. Mine didn't come out as great, but I had some
I'll have
honey.
to
I had
teach
some
you.
honey to mine. I'm not even, that's what I do sometimes. I had a little
And
bit
I
of
do
honey.
that for my kids because,
Mhm,
yeah, I feel like if we were in the wild and we found some honey, you betcha I would store it up, like, of course.
mhm.
And so it seems appropriate to dabble it in here and there. What to me is inappropriate is, like I said, that social norm of it always being on demand, just always there whenever you want
Mhm.
and in unlimited quantities. And
Right.
that's not realistic, I don't think. What would our ancestors do is always the question I try to like govern myself by.
Exactly.
Yes.
So we got about 3 minutes,
Okay.
and so I'm this is a question that I'm gonna, I asked all the time at the end, right? So if you had some advice that you wanted to give a person that is thinking about going plant-based or vegan, that is in the middle of a plant-based and vegan diet, and a person that's contemplating stopping a plant-based and vegan diet. I know it's a hard one. What
For
advice
all
would you give
all
for all
three
three?
points? Oh,
Yes.
geez. So if someone was eating a plant-based diet and they're super in that space, I would just say like hear my story. Like I didn't get into it much, but I caused an autoimmune disorder and food allergies to the very foods I was feeding to my child as a vegan, as a very healthy vegan. And so just hear my story. It's just my story. You can totally take it or leave it, but at least be open enough to hear my story because it might impact you, like I have you told the vegan me a couple years ago, 4 years ago now, that I'd be eating only meat now, I would have told you you're out of your damn mind and I would not have listened to you at all. So that's all I have to say to those people is just please hear me out and just hear my story. And try not to judge and hate too much. The lack of
Right.
B12 will tend to do that to you. Um, to the people who are you said what was the
In
middle
the
category?
middle.
Like they're just kind of what I like to call carnicurious.
Right, right, right. They're just kind of
Um,
curious.
and so for those people, again, like just keep reading if you're into reading or listen to podcasts if you're into podcasts. Find out, like go to Paul Saladino. He's got like I love how he nerds out on things and he will like reference the crap out of it and show you and break down the study for you. That is what I love. Like my husband, puts him to sleep. He absolutely cannot listen to Paul Saladino, but I love it. And so if that's you, do that. But if you're like my husband, listen to some podcasts of people talking about their stories and just hear it out and make your decision. And ultimately try it. Like to those people on like the last fence who are really kind of thinking about it, like it's 30 days. It's 30 days. Like it's not that bad. You can do anything for 30 days. I did some crazy stuff in the military. Like you can do this.
Right.
And then you'll know you've done the experiment and you can say like, yep, I did it. I tried it really, really good. Like I didn't half-ass it and just, eat pork rinds the entire time with sour cream and call it carnivore. Like there are ways to do vegan wrong, as we all know. There are ways to do carnivore wrong. And so if you really put in the effort for 30 days and you honestly feel no different or worse, then you've done it. Like, but until you've done that, I think you should try it. Like you don't know what you're missing.
That's good. That's some good advice. Well, Fallon, I really appreciate you taking the time to, share your story and give us some insight on how the carnivore diet has helped you improve your overall health.
Everything.
And so the story is a trickling effect for many of us, including myself.
Yes, absolutely.
And so the goal is just to get this, out to the people who are thinking, who are in the middle, and who's on the fence.
Just
to get them to understand, hey, there's another option. You don't have to be hungry all the time because you're not getting any nutrients.
Mm-hmm. Just try it. That's all I gotta say.
Give
like
it a shot.
I wish more people would try it. Like the 7 days, even just 7 days. I would prefer you tried 30, but just 7, I think might pique your interest enough to keep going.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we will talk soon. Have a good one.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.